Welcome to this free immigration help channel. Today is April 18, 2023, and we are getting into the volume 66 of me answering your immigration related questions. As you can see, I have all your comments pulled up here. Before we begin though, I'm gonna mention, as I mentioned in every video on this channel, I'm not an immigration attorney. This is not a legal advice. All the information provided in these videos on this channel are directly from official government sources, USCIS, and of course the Department of State with their visa bulletin. So let's start with the very first comment from Janelle wrote, my status saying 16 months. 16 months, well, we did see some updates in May 2023, things actually moving along finally. We've been waiting for a very long time for an update on the visa bulletin. So hopefully for you, Janelle, it's even less than 16 months, and this actually, speeds up more than that. Okay, moving further to Shabana Khan. My case is F2, Guyana. My priority date is September 2017. Now they are at January 1st, 2017. When do you think NVC will allow me to pay fees and upload documents? Please. Shabana, of course, thank you for asking the question. So whenever it comes to NVC opening up the portal completely to become documentarily qualified, usually they do it closer to the availability of the immigrant visa, and usually it is about 6 months, because they give you about 6 months to become documentarily qualified, because you still have to pay the fees, upload the documents, obviously the sponsors and everything, and all of the documentation, all of the stuff that you upload to the NVC portal, obviously they have to review it, right? So they usually give you a little bit of the time. It is really different, and I think it might depend. I see it, with different cases, different things. I think it might depend on the type of category and also the service center of USCIS that the case comes from. Because sometimes NVC allows the access to the portal pretty much instantly. So you get the welcome letter in the email or whatever, and you log into the NVC and you already have the full access, even when the immigrant visa is not available yet for your case, or even if you have to wait quite a long time for the availability of the immigrant visa. And sometimes they wait really, really close. But let's see, if your priority date is September 2017, and obviously now they're showing January. So you are, let's see, January, February. So you're about roughly 8-9 months away from the availability of the immigrant visa, judging by the visa bulletin. I would say wait another couple months, and if you do not get the full access to the portal, submit that public inquiry form with the NVC. And I'll actually show you, because I think it's going to be helpful. I'll probably refer to this public inquiry form later in this video for other people, so I'm going to actually show everyone who's watching this video how to do that. So this is the official US Department of State website, specifically for the Bureau of Consular Affairs, so they deal with all the immigrant visas, whatever visa bulletin comes out here, all right? And you can find this specific link in the description below of this video for the visa bulletin. So click on that link, you will have the visa bulletin in front of you, and then click on Contact Us right here at the very top. I'll actually open it in a new window so it doesn't close. And then it will give you a few different contacts. Let's see, so when it finally decides to load. Not sure why it's so slow today. There we go. Okay, finally. Then we will click on US Visas Contacts right here. And then we'll scroll down, and in the very first row in this graph, you will see public inquiry form. We're gonna click on that, and then we're gonna scroll down a little bit. You will see online immigrant visa inquiries only. That's exactly what we're looking for. Public inquiry form. We're gonna click on this, and this will give you this online form right here, where you will have to enter your case number, principal applicant's number, petitioners, who are you, petitioner or applicant themselves, beneficiary, email address, and then inquiry. And in the inquiry, obviously, just be polite, professional. But if you don't get that access to the portal in the next couple of months, definitely do that. And for everyone who's watching, if you have any kind of concerns and you think your case is taking too long or something, you haven't had any update or something like that, that's how you do it. That's the best way to reach out to the NVC actually and see what's going on with your case. All right, moving further to Happy P. Hello, sir. Thank you for answering my question. You're very welcome. Thank you for watching. I do have one more question. Sounds good. I'm filing my I-485. Okay, so for the asylum, got it. So that's the I-485 is the application for the adjustment of status. And actually, you know what? I'm gonna go to USCIS now, and I'm gonna go double check. I'll show you how to find all of the immigration forms again, because I'm gonna be referring to it in this video most likely anyway. So this is the homepage for USCIS. Again, the link is in the description below. We're gonna click on forms. We're gonna click on all forms. And this will give us all of the immigration forms that are available. They are all in numerical, alphabetic numerical order, so you can just scroll down, and there you go. I-485 application to register permanent resident or adjust status. Now, we know that Happy P is applying for that adjustment of status for the permanent resident based on granted asylum. So this person was for a year, they had a granted asylum status, and now they're filing for permanent residence. Happy P, by the way, congratulations, that's a huge step. Can I also send I-131 in the same packet without additional fees? I haven't applied I-131 before, thank you. All right, well, let's take a look. Again, we're gonna go to our all applications that are available. We're gonna scroll up to I-131, and this is the application for the travel document. Now, Happy P, I think. Yes, Happy P. Check it out. I have actually a video that I made specifically on how to fill out the form I-131. It's very straightforward. You are applying for a refugee travel document because you're applying based on your granted asylum status. And for those who have granted asylum, they're applying for the refugee travel document. Very straightforward. I would not recommend filing these two forms together because these are separate. They are not really related as part of the same process or anything like that. So you will have two separate application packages. It's going to be application, documents, fees, specifically for your application for permanent residence, and then you will have a separate application, documents, and fees specifically for that travel document, refugee travel document. But again, here you can find all the answers on this page. Now you know how to find it. And if you need a guide to go through how to fill it out, I have a video posted on this channel. And I'm gonna make this so that you're aware that I answered your question. And we're gonna move on to the next question from JC. Do you know how long the processing times are for the U4U? So that's a Uniting for Ukraine. This is a sponsorship program that has been opened up by USCIS. I wouldn't say necessarily recently. It's been open for quite some time now. And unfortunately, the longer it is open, the more applications are being received because people are finding out that there is such a program that is available. Filing that I-134A. Basically, anybody can be a sponsor for Ukrainian national, anyone who's in the US, anyone who has a status in the US. So it's really hard to tell right now how long these applications take. Initially, because this is a sponsorship program specifically for the country that is in distress, they were planning to do that within 30 days, and people were getting the responses within 30 days. Then the volume of applications started to grow. It became a little bit too much, and USCIS, they actually switched from paper applications to online applications. So now in order to apply for, specifically sponsor someone from Ukraine, you have to submit the application online, which makes it a little bit more streamlined because these applications are received faster. But at the same time, you have to keep in mind that the volume of applications is still growing. Even though the process is streamlined, there's more and more applications that are coming in. So now, to kind of give you not even an estimate, but more so kind of being aware, I recently had a question on this channel from someone who's been waiting already for from January, let's see, January, no, yeah, so 3 months. It's 3 months. Someone who filed for someone in Ukraine. They're here in the United States of America, and they filed for someone in Ukraine, and they have been waiting for over 3 months now, and still nothing. Well, not over 3 months, probably around 3 months, and still nothing. So Hopefully USCIS will be able to implement the processing times information, because right now if you go to the USCIS processing times, and again I'll show you how to do that. I don't know why this is opened up. We're gonna scroll all the way up to tools right here at the very top of the navigation menu, and to case status online, and then if you scroll down here there's a USCIS processing times information. If you check this for the forms, this form I-134A is not even showing up here. So USCIS, they don't even have an implemented way basically of calculating the processing time. So there isn't really anyone who can tell you except someone who have filed, let's say back in in January, and they're just now getting a response from USCIS. And if that's the case, for anyone who's watching this video, if you can, I would really appreciate, if you see, and it's not just for this specific program, Uniting for Ukraine. It really goes for everybody else. If you see a similar case to you, similar application, similar petition, and you know how long it took for you, and it was quite recent, we're not talking about 10 years ago, 20 years ago, because obviously things change big time. But it was recent, and you got your decision, and you know how long it took you. Please answer and let them know, because it's one thing to, kind of be in the dark and not know, feeling that you're kind of alone in this process, and it's completely different when there's someone else who's been through the process already, who is at the next stage of the process, and they can tell you, hey, don't worry, it took me, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, whatever. Yes, it's a long time, but it's still better to have some kind of update, some kind of information, than completely be in the dark. So hopefully somebody can answer, JC, for you, who's going through this process right now. All right, moving further to Michael Senior. Greetings. My PD is 19 March 2018 and documentarily qualified March 2022, F2A category. I'm in Jamaica. How much more waiting time for interview? Michael, thank you very much for your question. So whenever it comes to the F2A category, F2A specifically, it's been a very revealing category for pretty much everyone, specifically whenever it comes to the interviews. The reason why is because F2A was always, well, for the most part, current, right? There is a visa cap on it, but because there was less applications than the immigrant visas available for the F2A category, it was for the most part current. However, we now see, if we look at the visa bulletin as of April 2023 and of course May 2023, we now see that for people who have already been documentarily qualified, which is Graph A, final action dates, that's what that stands for, is for those who have been documentarily qualified in F2A category, they are waiting about 2.5 years. So right now, as of May 2023, we can see that the immigrant visas are becoming available for people who filed back in September 2020, became documentarily qualified back in September 2020. So these people, what it means is that these people wait about 2.5 years for their immigrant visa interviews. It's not really the availability of the immigrant visa, it's more so the immigrant visa interviews that are being scheduled for these people. Why? Because we know that the immigrant visas were current. And of course, the delay that is associated, that happened, why we have this, is because we had these closures during the pandemic. So, with that information, we know that 2.5 years, as of right now, right? If you were documentarily qualified today, for example, and you look at this, you can say, okay, roughly, I'm going to be waiting another 2.5 years for my interview. It's a very rough estimate, because I think this specific category, in this specific graph, will speed up. Why? Because it's not the problem with the availability of the immigrant visas, it's the problem with that artificial backlog that happened during the pandemic. So with that information, if we look at your documentarily, at your date when you were documentarily qualified, March 2022, that is about, let's see, my math is pretty bad, but that is about 1.5 years. So I would say a very rough estimate, you're looking at another year, 1.5 years for your immigrant visa. I mean, most likely it is already available. You're just waiting for your immigrant visa interview, really. So Again, this is very rough estimate. Why? Because I think this specific category will speed up because we're looking at that artificial backlog from the pandemic. It's not the same backlog that we have on other categories that is associated with the availability of immigrant visa. But nevertheless, if you want to submit an inquiry with NVC, I'd recommend doing it anyway, just to follow up, just to let them know that, hey, I'm staying on top of my case. I'm watching what's going on. Please give me an update. There's nothing wrong with doing that. All right, let's move on to the next one from Chela Tell All. Please tell me how I can have my son's approved documents show up in the NVC system. It was sent to NVC in October, but they keep saying they have not received it. Okay. Okay, Chela. So I'm gonna ask you for, if you can, follow-up comment with a little bit more information, just so that I'm kind of understanding of the dates, at least the dates. The situation, we will address it in a moment. So, priority category, right? I mean, if you're filing for your son and you are dealing with, well, again, it might be, I really do need to know. I really do need to know the category, because that would be really helpful, because it would be helpful to see whether you are dealing with that backlog, with the availability of the immigrant visas, or is your son in the category where the immigrant visa is always available. That would be helpful. Obviously, if the case was already sent to the NVC from USCIS, it means it has been already approved by USCIS. So if the NVC is telling you that they have not received the case, this is it's really weird. I kind of want to know exactly what NVC said, because if they are aware that the case was approved, right? If you're giving them the information from the USCIS and saying, look, this is my USCIS receipt number for the case. If you check it, it is approved. USCIS says that they already sent the case to the NVC, and you're saying that you haven't received it. It is between NVC and USCIS to figure it out, really. It shouldn't be you chasing after NVC and saying, hey, why don't you have the case? But if the NVC, because from what you're telling me, NVC is not being very helpful at all. I would reach out to USCIS as well to see whether it was already forwarded to NVC or not. There is no situation. The only situation where USCIS is waiting and holding your case and not sending it to the NVC is when the case is not approved yet. Because once it is approved by USCIS, it is sent to the NVC. So if it is not approved yet by USCIS, that is completely normal. A lot of times USCIS, they wait closer to the availability of the immigrant visa, and then they give you the approval, and then they send the case to the NVC. So if this is not the case, if it was already approved and it's been substantial amount of time, over a few months, that is substantial amount of time, and the case is still not at NVC, reach out to USCIS, reach out to NVC once again, and if you're not getting any positive response from these guys, I actually have a video on this channel on how to address problems like this with whatever agency you're dealing with, whether it's NVC, whether it's USCIS, whoever it is, with the help of elected officials. So you're filing kind of like inquiry / complaint, very polite, very professional, with local elected officials, with the senators, state representatives, and asking them to interfere on behalf of you to help you figure out what's going on, because you tried it yourself and there is no response. So Chela, if you can, some additional information would be helpful, at least so that we can look at the dates and kind of know whether you need to be dealing with the backlog or you don't need to be dealing with the backlog, and a little bit more information on what exactly happened, whether USCIS case was approved or not. Please do not respond to this comment here within your comment, because I don't get notifications for those. Please submit a separate comment if you can, and maybe I can address it a little bit further, and we'll see, maybe we can do something. All right, let's move on to the next question from Cassandra Anderson. My God, thank you so much for taking the time to explain the system. My question is, finally F1 category moving a bit. my priority date is April 2015. So you think maybe by 6 months I should be able to receive my interview letter? Thank you. Well, you're very welcome, Cassandra. I'm glad this is helpful. I'm glad I'm explaining it in an understandable way. So whenever it comes to the F1, I think with the May we're gonna actually compare. We'll take a look at F1 right here. So this is the 2017 it's showing. So let's go to April, and so that one is January 2017, and we'll take a look at April and see if it moved from April. Yes it did. So F1 was one of those categories that had a significant movement, like 6 months movement forward, which is great, which is fantastic. And your priority date is April 2015, so you're way back. I'm assuming that you're already documentarily qualified. Your beneficiary, whether you're a petitioner or beneficiary is already documentarily qualified, and the immigrant visa should already definitely be available. So I think at this point you're just waiting for the interview. What you can do, if you want, it's not gonna hurt. You might not get much information, but you can try. It's always worth to try. You can do two things. You can submit a public inquiry with the NVC, like I showed earlier in the video. Just, polite, professional, but say, hey guys, my priority date is back in April 2015. I am already documentarily qualified. According to the May 2023 visa bulletin, my immigrant visa should already be available. Can you please let me know when the interview is going to be scheduled? All right. They might not respond to it. They might respond with something generic like, oh, we're actively working, reviewing your case, and something that means absolutely nothing. But it's still worth a shot. And the second thing that you can try to do is you can actually reach out to the local U.S. embassy in the country where the interview is supposed to be, and ask them and say, hey, I have the beneficiary, or I am the beneficiary and I have the interview that's supposed to be scheduled. I wanted to see if you can give me any information, approximately how long I'm waiting. Because at this point, really, what you're waiting for is you're waiting for that artificial backlog to be taken care of that has to do with the interviews. Because keep in mind that it's not just USCIS and the Department of State, the NVC specifically, that was closed during the pandemic, and they did not do any processing. It was also the local US embassies that were closed. So now all the people from back before the pandemic, they are now finally getting their interviews. So the people who have been recently documentarily qualified, they are, they're looking at a little bit longer time than before. If before it was like few months and the interview is scheduled, now it's like 6 months to a year, and in some situations, if you have been waiting from before the pandemic, it's like 2.5 years. All right, which is really annoying. But I think this is the backlog that is going to be taken care of pretty quickly, because because it doesn't have to do anything with the availability of immigrant visas. All right, we're not waiting because there's a lack of immigrant visas. We're waiting because everything was closed for a while. All right, moving further to Chad Leslie. Good morning, sir. I really appreciate your help. Keep on doing this great job. Just to add on what I asked before, my priority date is March 2011. I see. So March 2011. Chad, thank you very much for the follow-up, and I appreciate you watching. I'm glad the stuff is helpful. All right, moving further to Ali Haider, and I'm very sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name. Hi sir, I just filed I-130 form, but I was facing a problem to upload specific document, native language document. It was not uploading, so I tried several times, then I uploaded successfully, and then I submitted the form. Later on, I saw that the same document is uploaded many times. What should I do now? Please help. Ali, don't worry about that too much. That's unfortunately the case with these electronic uploads. I can tell you from my personal dealing with this, and it was quite recent. I was dealing it with for my parents on the NVC, and it was, I don't remember what it was. I think it was for the tax returns. And tax returns, there's a lot of pages in the tax returns. So when you're uploading stuff in the NVC portal, they tell you that you have to submit everything in one file, right? So you have tax returns in one file, you have whatever, I think bank statements they were asking in one file in PDF. So I was like, okay. So it obviously took me some time to figure out how to put all of these pages into one PDF file. I've done that. All right, great. I'm uploading it to the NVC, and it says the file is too big. So I'm like, okay, how basically the moral of the story is that whenever it comes to government stuff and technology, it's not very good. All right. So I'm sure they understand it themselves, that the glitches are like that, and they will see that this is exactly the same document. In fact, when you uploaded electronic signature of the file, you don't even need to open the file to realize that this is exactly the same file, because you have the same exact signature of exactly the same file. So don't worry about it. It's not going to be a problem at all. I'm sure USCIS and NVC, they know how bad their system is. I really just hope that they fix it and we don't deal with issues like this. On the plus side, at least we see that I'm gonna put the same answer here so that you're aware that I answered your question. On the plus side, we know at least that they are implementing more and more of these online applications, and it's a huge benefit of having these online applications. Why? Because they're processed much faster, because they're received much faster too, and it's easier to not make mistakes in the actual application when you type it up on the computer, although that's debatable. But let's move on to the next one from Lonel Jane Legaspi. Hi, I have received welcome email and can open my CAC account already, but the summary says that due to numerical limitations on immigrant visa issuance prescribed by law, this petition is not eligible for further processing at this time. The National Visa Center will retain the petition until an immigrant visa becomes available, and NVC will notify the petitioner, principal applicant, or attorney of record when this petition is eligible for further processing. The principal applicant should not make any firm plans, such as disposing of property, giving up jobs, or making travel arrangements at this time. What this means? Should I wait for a year? My application would be expired. Thank you. Oh, Lonel Jane Legaspi, sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name. Don't worry about this at all. This is completely normal. Basically what it means is that your petition with USCIS is approved. It is good. You don't need to worry about it expiring. The only situation where it expires is that if they give you full access to the portal and your immigrant visa is available and you don't do anything about it, and I think it's after a year, like you said, it expires. This is not applicable to you. Don't worry about that. This is completely normal. The only reason why you don't have the full access to the NVC portal is because they're waiting closer to the availability of the immigrant visa. And thank you, by the way, for sharing the whole message, because for everyone who's watching this video, now you know exactly what this message looks like. I didn't remember this message. It was a while that I've seen it in my own personal NVC portal for the relatives that I was inviting. I haven't seen it for a long time, so I didn't remember how it goes. But yes, this is it. You don't have to worry about it at all. If you want, Lonel, you can come back to this channel and post a separate comment with your priority date and the category, also the chargeability area. That would be helpful. And I might give you a little bit rough estimates on around when you will get access to that portal. Just make sure don't respond to my comment within your comment. Submit a separate comment, because like I said, I don't get notifications for those. Okay, moving further to Nayash Acharya. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name. Hello, sir. I had applied for the immigration petition under unmarried son daughter of lawful permanent resident on the 14th March of 2016. Now my case has been approved by USCIS, and NVC has already sent me the notice of being documentarily qualified. Excellent. My parents have already completed the naturalization process and now are the citizens. So NVC has changed my visa class to F1. Excellent. I fall under all chargeability areas except those listed below. Since I can see on the visa bulletin, the priority dates are 8th August 2016 and 1st of December 2014. How long should I expect my visa interview to be scheduled? I was documentarily qualified on 15th of April 2023. So congratulations, Nayash. That's great news. April 2023, so it's very, very recent. Like I've been saying before, typically they would schedule somewhere between 3 months. In my situation personally, it was right. It wasn't right after pandemic, but it was right after pandemic. It was right after pandemic, and it took me about 9 months, I think, for my parents to get their interviews. And again, because I'm a U.S. citizen, and when U.S. citizen is inviting parents, they get their interviews. Not the interviews, sorry. It's the basically immediate relative. That's what it counts with. So there is no waiting for any kind of availability of the immigrant visa. There is no backlog. But they still waited a long time for an interview. Why? Because again, there is this artificial backlog in the embassies because of the closures during the pandemic. So you're probably looking. You're looking at some time. I would say at least 6 months. You're looking for the actual interview to be scheduled. It might be longer because if we look at for example, the F2A category where the backlog is applicable, people are waiting for about 2.5 years, all right, for the availability of the immigrant visa. But we also have to keep in mind that it also depends on the country. For example, if in your country the U.S. Embassy is busier than U.S. Embassy in other countries, if the immigration numbers are heavier, appointments in general, there are more appointments, more services provided by U.S. Embassy, then obviously that also will impact the length of how long you're waiting for that interview. But like I've been answering to somebody earlier, wait a few months. I would give it at least 3 months, right? And if nothing happens within the next 3 months, then you can submit the public inquiry form with NVC and ask them, hey guys, when is my interview going to be scheduled? And actually reach out to the local U.S. Embassy and ask them. Again, you might not get any answers, or at least legitimate answers that actually provide you any information, but at least you will show them that you are, following up and you are on top of the case. All right, let's move on to the very last question for today from Muhammad Sanoe. Question I-130 is, which category is F2A or F2B? Please reply me the correct answer. Okay, so which category is F2A or F2B? Okay, well, I'll show you how to find the answer yourself. It's very straightforward. So if you look at the visa bulletin and the video that you asked the question on, you can click, it's in the description below. It will open up the visa bulletin. This is April visa bulletin. We will go to May visa bulletin, so it's the same exact link, but it doesn't matter because there is explanation for both of them. So F2A is for spouses and children of permanent residents. Children in this case are unmarried children under 21. F2B is unmarried sons and daughters, 21 years of age or older of permanent residence. So if you are a permanent resident and you are filing I-130 specifically for a spouse, she's going to be in the F2A visa category. If you're filing for example, your son, who is, let's say, 23 years old, then he's going to be in F2B category. So you can find all of the answers here in this family sponsor preferences. They describe which preference is what. So thank you everyone for watching. I hope today my answers were helpful to you. If you have any follow-up questions, do not hesitate to ask them. Again, in the comments below, just make sure to ask them as a separate comment so I actually see it as a notification. The more questions you ask, the better for me. So however many questions you have, I don't mind at all. Thank you very much for watching. God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.